Welcome back to Faith Family United Church of Christ Bible study. This is Studies in Luke, and we are currently in chapter 10. We're going to talk about the very last story. Well, we have a little bit of a different venue today. We're coming from my home instead of from the congregation Beth Shalom. Because of Debbie Downer. So we're trying to keep everybody safe so they're at home and not trying to drive in this inclement weather or anything like that. So we will also have our service via live stream on Facebook as well. So if you want to tune in, that starts at 10:30. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this. We are looking at 10:38, Luke 10, chapter 10, verse 38, and this is Jesus visits Martha and Mary. It says, now as they went on their way, they entered a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. So she came to him, Jesus, and asked, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need only of one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. All right, so as we read this, there's a couple things that first jump out. This seems to be a random visit. It says that they were on their way and they entered a certain village. They were on their way and they passed by. We see this in today, right? We say, oh, we were in the area and we decided to drop by. It doesn't happen very much anymore. It used to happen a lot in the past, but now it's pretty much if you're going somewhere, you're not going to stop by a friend's house or something to that point. You're just going to go do what you had to do and come home. Do you feel that same way?
Yeah.
So you can see this idea of a random visit is kind of lost in the world today. A certain village, that means that there was a particular, Luke says a certain village, so he's pointing out that it was important, but he doesn't give us the name. That's kind of interesting. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think about other stories, because this is the Martha and Mary in the Lazarus story. And so I wonder if he says a certain village here, and then later he talks about what village it was. But anyway, he visits a certain village where there's a woman named Martha. Now, Martha, first of all, she is praised at the beginning, because what does it say? Martha welcomed him into her home. And I think that's important, because this idea of welcoming people is very important. And we saw this earlier in Luke, where if the people do not welcome the disciples when they came, they were to
shake their sand off their feet.
Exactly, the dust off their seat. And he talks about woe to you Chorazin, woe to you Bethsaida, because if the things that were seen in you. So Jesus it's very important. And this is an Old Testament or a Jewish Bible, a Hebrew Bible, idea that welcoming, as a matter of fact, if you read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in its context, the story right before Sodom and Gomorrah shows Abraham welcoming those same angels. And he bestows lavish a meal for them. He takes care of them. And then you turn around and they go into the town of Sodom, and they're not welcome. So this idea of welcoming a stranger is high upon the priority list of the Jewish people at the time of Jesus. So Martha welcomes him into her home. Okay, what do we have next? She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and did what?
Hung on every word.
What's that?
Hanging on every word.
Listen to him. Yeah. In Cindy's translation, it says hanging on every word. Now, if we take the word listen and we just go back a couple stories, let's see if I can get it to go back a couple stories. What do we see here? Oh, yeah, Jesus was talking about listening. Whoever listens to you, talking to his disciples, listens to me. And whoever rejects you, rejects me. And whoever rejects, but there's that idea of listening. And we talked about that before. And this idea of listening, it's more than just hearing the words. If you ever been with someone and said, you're not listening to me, and they repeat the words, but they had no idea what the concept or what the idea that you were thinking about was trying to convey. They weren't really listening to you, they just heard the words. And so we talked about that on listening. And I like the Cindy's translation that says, hanging on every word. And that's the way we should listen, is to this idea of listening to hang on every word. Okay. So we move on, and the next thing we notice is distracted by her many parts. This is Martha, and Martha is distracted by her many tasks. Now that's something we can relate to in today's world, don't you think? Yeah. Do we get distracted by our many tasks? Yeah. I've taken to do something that I'm trying to force myself to do something because of this idea of being distracted by many tasks. And that is completely finish the task at hand before I start something else. I don't know if you're like me, but I get distracted easily. It's like, for instance, if I do the laundry. Okay, so I go and do the laundry, and I wash the clothes, I put the clothes in the dryer, I get the clothes out of the dryer, put it in the basket, and they sit in the basket because I'm off to another task. The laundry's completed, well, it's washed, it's dried, but it still isn't put away. And so I've been forcing myself to do the complete task before I start another task. So that's just something that I'm trying to do myself. But it's easy to get distracted, especially in today's world, because we got so much going on, and everybody's got 2 or 3 responsibilities that they're trying to juggle at work, and then you come home and you got more responsibilities, and so we're often distracted by our many tasks. And remember what Mary was doing. She was listening to Jesus. And then Jesus tells, when Martha goes and tries to have Jesus make Mary help with the work, Jesus says, you are distracted by many things. What do you think that means?
My version says you're fussing far too much and getting yourself worked up over nothing.
Okay. Worked up over nothing. But I think there's more meaning there.
I think she's concentrating on the wrong thing.
What would be the right thing?
to be listening to him and learning from him.
Exactly.
And like that happens a lot. You get, and when you are in a church, you get wrapped up in the administration of the church and the things you have to do. And, you know, during your Sunday school, you're thinking about what you need to do during service, and during service, you're thinking about hospitality, and like, you don't take the time to really immerse yourself in the moment and in the Word. We all do that, yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's what he was trying to say, is concentrate on the things that are important.
Yeah, I think that Martha here is concentrating, like Cindy said, on the worldly things. She's looking at this at kind of as like this is her reputation on the line, because Jesus has come to her house and she's got to make it look perfect. And Jesus is there saying, hey, sit down, just talk with me, listen to what I have to say. And she's concentrating on this worldly idea of being the greatest hostess there is. So Jesus is saying, you're concentrating, like Cindy said, you're concentrating on the wrong thing. Okay, so, and that's what he says. Mary has chosen the better part. One of the things that this story screams to me is our devotion time, our time to meditate and focus on getting our lives in line with how God has created the world. You can focus on the Word, the Bible, and meditate on it, read a story and meditate on it, or you can just meditate. Think about yourself and think about your own. What are we doing that? Are we taking the time to do that? Or are we distracted by the many things, the many tasks that we have to do in our life? And so I think this is a big one to tell us, hey, slow down, take time for yourself to meditate and get yourself straight. I think there's a lot of mental health issues in the world because people don't do that. And I mean, today it's becoming acceptable. We talk about calling in on sick on our work, but today it's becoming more and more acceptable to call in on work because you need a mental health day. But just think, if you would take a mental health 15 minutes or mental health half hour every day, then maybe you wouldn't need that full day to recuperate, unless you want to take Sunday. But anyway, I think that's kind of the message that I'm getting from this story. What about you, Cindy?
I think, like you said, that we should make an intentional effort to not be distracted by our task and to immerse ourselves in learning and worship, and be intentional about it. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah. Good to put our work aside for a little bit. All right. Well, we have that rare occasion where we'll go ahead and end it right here. All the times that I've went over, here you go. This is one of the ones I get for you. So next week we will start on chapter 11, and hopefully we will be back at our congregation, Beth Shalom. See you then.